270 flipped his van. Police and paramedics were several minutes away.
But two passing motorists who just happened to be off-duty medical workers rushed to his rescue. News Channel 5's Ann Rubin has tonight's top story.
Well, the driver was trapped, half hanging out his window. Police say he wouldn't have made it out without help. Police and paramedics hadn't arrived yet. The crash happened just moments before.
We were just driving right behind him and we saw him flip end over end.
Flames quickly engulfed the van, with the driver still trapped inside.
He was just hanging by out of the driver's side door, and there was nothing else to do because the car was on fire. We had to get him out.
Mike Seeley and Chris Dudley dragged the driver from his van and quickly went to work.
He was complaining of his knee hurting, his chest, his nose.
They were more than just bystanders. The off-duty paramedic and nurse turned out to be lifesavers.
They did a very heroic thing.
Police say if it weren't for their quick thinking, the driver might not have made it out alive.
They said probably within 30 seconds the van became fully engulfed.
The van was a total loss, its skeleton lodged into a rocky embankment. The driver wasn't sure what went wrong, but he told his rescuers at the time he'd been following an ambulance carrying his son.
He just kept saying, you know, I need to get to Children's Hospital. That's what he was concerned about. He said he needed to get to Children's Hospital.
Eventually, EMTs came to take the driver to the hospital. No word on his condition. Mike and Chris know they put themselves in danger with this rescue. In fact, the flames burned so hot, they melted Mike's cell phone.
And this was what's left of it.
But they say they'd do it all again.
Anybody would have done that. If that had happened in front of them, there's no way you could not stop it.
Photojournalist Eric Voss was on his way home and passed the accident scene moments after it happened. He says he made sure the driver was out safely and getting the help he needed before picking up his camera. Deanne?
All right, thank you, Ann. 24 hours after he was pulled from his burning van, a driver is talking to News Channel 5 about the crash and the Good Samaritans who saved his life. Ann Rubin has the exclusive interview on the Night Beat.
Well, Greg Wheeling was already having a bad week. His 3-year-old was sick and headed to the hospital. He was following behind the ambulance trying to stay calm. That's when something went wrong, and Greg lost control of the van. 1 minute, he was following the ambulance, carrying his son to the hospital. The next, his van was flipping end over end. Greg Wheeling doesn't remember the impact.
I heard a real loud boom, and that's when I woke up.
When he came to, he was trapped, stuck inside his burning van.
And I got about halfway out, about down below my chest, and I couldn't get out no farther.
Basically, he was just hanging by out of the driver's side door, and there was nothing else to do because the car was on fire. We had to get him out.
So Mike Seeley, an off-duty paramedic, and Chris Dudley, a nurse, pulled him from the wreckage and dragged him to safety.
Anybody would have done that. If that had happened in front of them, there's no way you could not stop it.
Greg knows if it weren't for their quick thinking, he might not have made it out alive.
That thing blowed up just no sooner they got me out and got me up the road just a little bit. I mean, it pow.
His van was a total loss, but Greg came away with just scratches. He wants his rescuers to know just how grateful he is.
They're heroes. They are upstanding citizens.
Greg was rushed to St. John's Mercy Medical Center, where he was treated and released. He then went directly to St. Louis Children's Hospital to check on his 3-year-old son, who is suffering from a stomach virus. He says they're both going to be fine.
God has looked over me many a times, and he was looking over me and my boy that night.
Greg Wheeling says he has a history of seizures, and that may have contributed to the accident. He says his son may be released from the hospital as early as tomorrow. Mike?
All right.
Greg Wheeling says he has a history of seizures, and that may have contributed to the accident. He says his son may be released from the hospital as early as tomorrow. Mike?
All right.